Everybody, thanks for your post this week on Module 4, specifically on sexual identity and gender identity development. Thought it was some really great posts. I think I, as well as everyone else, really was overwhelmingly got some additional education and gained some new perspectives in regards to how we interact with students and really the entire kind of development process continuing with this class. Student development theory makes sense. We're gaining some more understanding there. But anyway, really, like I said, kind of saw kind of the overarching theme with everyone again on challenging some perspectives as far as what we assume is just kind of standard, and what are these kind of societal norms that we all have faced in these situations that we've all been given to challenge that. So I guess to kind of start off a little bit more, want to talk a little more about the gender identity, and specifically about Bem's theory that's in the Evans text starting on page 335, the Bem's gender schema, and all that. And I think for me, I really appreciated this providing some additional visual component to it, particularly the figure on page 338, the Bem's sexual types. So compares kind of the feminine versus masculine, and then how those each individual boxes fit in between. I still, I guess, see a little bit of a challenge in that after reading it and gaining more understanding that, especially, applying back queer theory, again, queer theory is kind of everything that is not the norm. Fitting into a box is more of a norm. In some regards, are saying that you've got to be defined as this one thing, or there's this traditional, like, you're man, you're masculine, okay, there you go, and kind of define some of those other things there. So just thought it was interesting to see kind of continuing some additional research I had done for Dr. McCord's class, a paper on transgender inclusion on college campuses, and really seeing it is this lack of education, not just for transgendered, but also seeing people who have these identities that are beyond those societal norms. And each of us were able to share a little bit of an experience about how people have defied that traditional stereotype. Tina talking about you learning and meeting, Toby says hi, meeting your one friend who's a lesbian, and really understanding what that really means and how she is as a person, and how that friendship and that relationship is with you. Brandy with your uncle, learning him and learning about him, and even those other people there. Tamara especially appreciated continuing. I'm starting to be more and more interested about wanting to know, and kind of putting some policy change in regards to trans gender people, and kind of the relationships and roles on campus and how they're treated, and providing more equal campus there. And even Rachel as well, talking about what is this traditional masculine thing? Is it okay for boys to cry? I think that's a good piece to kind of bring up. And so I think again it's interesting to see it, and I think the big thing in understanding particular queer theory and some of these other ones, and really the gender identity, is that there's not just two. There's not the traditional gender binary that we have, that society has placed and has said for so long. We're really beyond that, and I think that really reflects as we've grown to expand the definition for being gay, or having some other different sexual orientation or gender identity. We've got all these different places that we identify with now, the acronym LGBTQIA and so on. I think it's LGBTQIA. Sorry, don't mind the dog being distracting in the background. So thought it was just really interesting there. And I think the biggest piece, I think overall, kind of wrapping things up, I think all of our education persists to show the reason why people don't understand this or are so opposed to it. I think it's a lack of education. And fortunately enough for us, and fortunately enough for the population that we're choosing to work with, college campuses are those safer places, not safest, but can be a safer place to learn about those identities and to challenge your own perspective, and to not necessarily change who you are, but question why you believe you are one way. So I think that's something interesting for us to take away, from there. So thanks for listening in. I appreciate everyone's post again. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.